Alright guys, what's up? This is kind of, an introduction to a little page I wanted to start to document stuff I do to my car, or, working on friends' cars or car shows, whatever. I've always really wanted to start an automotive channel because I've watched a lot of YouTubers and love filming and working on cars, but I've always been too nervous to actually start a channel. Just never had the guts to do it. And I finally just decided, why not? Go ahead and do it. What's the worst that happens? I stop posting videos. I like to make a lot of edits and stuff, so I really wanted to post them in a place where others could see it who have the same passion other than, my grandparents seeing it on Facebook. A little bit about me is I'm from a small town just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. I grew up there pretty much my entire life. I've also been into cars my entire life. My dad's an auto body technician, so I grew up in the shop with him fixing cars. He's worked for some pretty high-end companies, so I grew up around watching him fix a lot of new BMWs, a lot of Porsches, muscle cars, a few restorations. So I pretty much grew up around that my entire life, so it kind of helped feed the fire as far as me being interested in cars. I'm a musician. I'm a drummer. I've played drums for about 8 years now. I might include a clip of me playing drums if I have one. But I might post some drum covers on here too if I feel like it. But I've always been really into music too. That's probably, music and cars is probably my two biggest passions. I love all kinds of music, but pretty much rock music is what I like. Breaking Benjamin, Korn, 3 Days Grace, Linkin Park, stuff like that. I like a lot of metal too. As far as cars, I drive a 2016 Ford Focus ST. It's the 2.0 4-cylinder turboed with a 6-speed manual transmission. It's the ST1, and for those of you that aren't really keen with Ford Focus, there's an ST1, an ST2, and an ST3. The ST1 is pretty much the more basic one. The ST2 has leather Recaro racing seats. It's got navigation. It's got a sound system in it. It has its own sub in the trunk. And then the ST3, if I'm right, it has factory HIDs with projectors and just a couple of other bells and whistles. But at first, I really wanted the ST2 or the ST3, but then I realized I really just wanted it for the Recaro seats, because as far as the sound system goes, because I'm a musician, music is a really big deal, so pretty much a sound system is the first thing I do, and I would have ended up putting a different sound system in here than the one shallow mount sub that it came with from factory. So I really didn't need that because I was going to tear it out. The HIDs, I figured eventually I'd just find somebody who sold theirs on eBay, and same for the Recaro seats. So why pay the extra $5 or $6 grand? The first two cars, I've had a few cars. The first I got, since I love building and making my own, I'm also really into trucks. So the first car I got when I turned 16 was a 1998 Chevy Silverado Z71. It was completely stock, besides it had a brush guard on it, and it didn't run very well. And my parents wanted me to get a newer car or a newer truck, but I really wanted that one to make it my own, and I'm into older cars, which is kind of ironic considering I'm in a brand new car, but whatever. So I took it, and I think I paid $5,700 for it, and then by the time I was done, I had $13,500 in it, if I'm correct. I mean, I did pretty much everything you could think of. I tore that truck to the ground and back up. New headlights, HID conversion, new wheels. I've spent $1,300 just on a set of mud tires for it. Exhaust. I built a couple of sound systems for it. I was never happy with the sound system, so it had a ton of work there. Some interior work. I put a high torque starter on it. The last thing I had done to it was the summer before my senior year, I spun a rod bearing in the motor, so I didn't, like, it sat in my driveway all summer. I couldn't drive it. And then pretty much half of my senior year, and then finally around October of my senior year, I had saved up enough money to buy a brand new engine from GM. I mean, it was a brand new 350 Vortec crate straight from GM. And me, my dad, and a couple of my buddies spent an entire weekend tearing the old motor out and putting a new one in, new radiator. Pretty much everything was brand new. About a month, 2 months, a month and a half, something like that, after we had put that motor in, I mean, it hadn't even had like the first break-in oil change. I was taking my brother to school, and it was raining and it was cold, and I was going down this back road, and I hit a patch of gravel. And for those of you who know a little bit about trucks, mud tires are great off-road, but they suck for traction on asphalt. So I hit that gravel patch, and the rear end came out, and I couldn't get control of it again. And because the roads were wet, it just slid, and I pretty much ended up cartwheeling it through the woods, and I mean, totaled it. I mean, the thing was just trashed. Which really sucked, because like that truck, like, you know, it was your first car. I was planning on never getting rid of that thing, and I had so much money in it. I mean, Lord knows the insurance wasn't going to give me what it was worth. The work on this thing was unreal. Like, I took pride in that truck. So after I wrecked it, I ended up buying a 2001 Super Crew Lariat F-150 from a friend that I go to church with. Very beautiful truck. It was in great shape when I bought it. I put a lot of work into the sound system in it. I cut out the back of the cab and made my own sub box to fit in the back so that it was hid away. And then I cut out the dash because the dash was only for a single din, and then I custom fit a double din touchscreen in it. I had that one for a while, but it ended up, you know, I was about to go to college, and it started breaking down on me a lot. I think it was the computer. I think something in the computer was messed up, because it would get warm, and then it would put itself in fail-safe mode, and it wouldn't run, but when it cooled off, it would run fine. And I replaced the thermostat, I replaced a lot of stuff in it, and I finally just decided that it was it was just in the computer. I didn't want to mess with it anymore. And so I was going to college and didn't need to spend, award debt and gas. So I just finally decided that it was time to move on from it. But while I had it, I wanted to try to get a gas saver for college. And so I saved up some money over the summer, and I bought a 1997 Honda Civic EX with a 5-speed. I still have it, actually, but it just sits in my yard now. But I mean, that thing was, I only paid $2,000 for it, so you can imagine what kind of a condition it was in. One day, after I decided that I needed to get rid of the truck, I ended up going and looking at one of these, and I just fell in love with it and finally decided that it was time to move on from the truck community and get a car. So I got this one, and I love it. I mean, I love this car. And so now I want to, document some of the things that I do to it. But I'm really looking forward to kind of making this car my own and seeing how the transition is from the truck community, going from truck meets to going to car meets, you know, because truck meets, I mean, you're pretty much surrounded by a bunch of rednecks. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what that transition is like. I'm really looking forward to see where this page goes, just because I've always wanted to do this, and I've always wanted to document the progress that I make on my cars, or just document my life in general, just to go back and look at it later, like not even just for followers, but just for myself, and see if I can, you know, influence somebody else to, you know, bite their tongue and take a shot at whatever it is they want. Making a YouTube channel, modding their car, like, just go ahead and do it. But anyways, I'm about to stop by my dad's shop and grab my dad's truck and go out my grandparents' move. So I'll see y'all a little bit later. Peace out.